Happy 10th birthday, Digify Africa. Hala, 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 hala. Thanks for being so patient, everybody. My name is Hlubi Mboya Arnold, and I'm here with the wonderful Digify Africa team. I am so excited that we're celebrating a really great journey of theirs, of impacts and innovation. But it's not about me, it's about our fantastic panel today. So without any further ado, time is not on our side. So we have the CEO of Digify Africa, and that is Gavin Weale. Can we give him a warm welcome? Kancane, kancane. All right, and then Sister Qhakaza Mohare, Digify Africa COO, looking beautiful. Can we give her a little bit of a ala ala? Come on now. And then last but certainly not least, we've got LiveMag Alumni, my brother, and that is Rofhiwa Maneta. Ala ala, ala ala. So as I said, everyone, Digify Africa really has a close and a special place in my heart. As a social entrepreneur, we recently did a boot camp with you guys for Sunshine Cinema, and we'll unpack that a little bit more later, and that really is instilling tools of entrepreneurship and digital skills for young budding entrepreneurs on an African landscape. But most importantly, while we're here today, not only are we celebrating a really remarkable 10-year journey, but Digify Africa, a youth organization creating spaces for dialogue, is very important to Digify Africa. And as we celebrate a decade of digital skills impact and innovation, we're going to reflect not only on the opportunities of young people today, but also the challenges, but most importantly, the future of digital economy, not only in South Africa, but in Africa. So let's kickstart it off, where it all began. I know, Gavin, as entrepreneurs, we are problem solvers. And as social entrepreneurs, says QFR, it's about lifting up those social injustices in societies. And I know that most of the kids that go through our programs and are employees of Digify Africa are from urban and peri-rural South Africa. So whatever skills that you are imparting and teaching them are lifelongs and intergenerational. Where did it all begin with Digify Africa?
Wow, I feel like I'm going to tell a real origin story now, because it started, well, for me, it started in the UK, in South London, where we started a magazine called Live Magazine, which was aimed at helping teenagers there kind of have a voice in their community and learn skills that could help them get into the media. And I ran that project in Brixton in South London for almost 10 years. And then it was kind of fate that gave me the chance to come to South Africa in 2010 with the prospect of launching Live Magazine here. It was a series of random events that kind of led to that, which I don't have time to go into here. But when I spent time here, I think I was just really struck by the possibility that what we'd created in London could resonate here and could create a social impact here. And I was lucky enough to meet a funder who shared that vision, and they gave me some money, and I moved to Cape Town 10 years ago. And we started off with Live Magazine South Africa, which was our first project, which was a youth magazine created entirely by young people. And they had complete creative and editorial control, but through the process, they learned the skills of content creation, media, journalism, design, etc. And then through a boot camp process, we would then, at the end, help place them into jobs. And so we ran that for many years, but at some point, it changed into Digify. But that was where it started. Live Magazine was the original.
You seem to be nodding your head when it talks about Live Mag. Is it conjuring up memories, Rof?
I mean, yeah, so like Gavin said, there used to be like a physical magazine. That's how I actually joined Live Magazine / Digify. It was in 2014, so I was a deputy editor of the last sort of print issue. And like Gavin said, we had 3 months to put together a physical magazine. You put it together, and then after that, they kind of place you somewhere. I was actually placed at the company itself, as in Liberty. But I came in as very much like a writer. Like that's all I wanted to do. I wanted to be a journalist. I wanted to write books. But there was a woman who was in charge of digital at the time. Her name was Beth. And she kind of like steered me towards social media. She was like, it's great that you want to write, but you might want to have a look at the industry itself. And I think the signs of collapse were already there. And so initially I worked on a project called Red Bull Amaphiko, because that was in-house, as in we did the social media, ran the website. And then after a while I went to Red Bull as in proper, they poached me. So yeah, I'm at TikTok now. But that's just to say, like, I think if it weren't for that type of thinking, I might still have been a journalist instead of like a digital marketer, as you were.
LiveMag gave birth to Digital Pro? Yes?
Digify Pro.
Yes.
Digify Pro, yeah.
Yes. Tell us about that.
Yeah, so Digify Pro started in 2014, and it was really, it was based on LiveMag. So we had this methodology of, let's immerse a group of young people into a situation where they would have to learn, and at the end of it, they'd be ready for a job. So when we switched from Live to Digify, we really just changed the kind of industry almost. So we were, that worked for journalism, but we thought digital marketing, that's where the jobs are, that's where there's demand. So we created this boot camp experience of like being a mini agency. 20 young people, unemployed, interested, showed some talent, but maybe hadn't had the opportunity. We immersed them in it for 12 weeks. And then, whereas with LiveMag, maybe half would get jobs at the end. With Digify Pro, every single person got a job within a couple of weeks of it finishing. Yeah. So, and
Yes, can we give a little bit of a clap there? Come on now.
and that trend has really
That's
continued
excellent.
with Digify Pro, which we still run now.
This is Qhakaza. Liberty Africa to Digify Africa. Tell us that journey.
So a lot has changed in the last 10 years for us as a company, and I think that name change was also quite central to it. So as Gavin has spoken, we started out as taking something that existed in the UK and brought it to South Africa. But I think by that time, around 2018, 2019, reflecting on who we were as a company was quite different from something that started out in the UK, and I think looking at a program like at the time we had run Digify Bites, which I think had really shown us what the potential was for the programs and the kind of impact we can have on the continent. That's the program where we trained 80,000 young people across 10 countries on the continent, And for us, that was just, there's definitely something there, And I think that's was really important for us to also, really just position ourselves as an African company, by Africans for Africans, with African solutions. And that's really what's been the main thing, I think, about Digify Africa. It really is like our commitment to digital skills training for young people of this continent. And the name change has been quite important for us.
You heard the reactions from our people that the scale, you guys are talking big numbers.
Even I'm just like 80,000, that's a lot. How did we do that?
That is monogamous. So here's to another 10 years of Digify Africa.
Thank you. 100 years, I like that.
Yes.
Let's go.
So, Sissy, before, we all started, we were hanging around. I love the fact that you highlighted to you that what you do with Digify Africa is a job, it's a calling, it's a purpose, and you can see tangible change in present moment of what you're kind of doing. Some of us who try and do things and we really maybe not even live to see the kind of dreams that we're here to do, but you are in this moment and seeing it reflectively. Tell us more about that.
It's wild to be sitting right next to Rofhiwa, I think I remember the first time I interacted with like LiveMag. I'm not too sure if you were part of that cohort, but I was coming in to do social media training for journalists, and a lot of people in that room are now at TikTok, are now at, we were just speaking with one of our alumni, Muiponi. So when I first joined the company, it was as a project manager for one of our programs that Muiponi was part of. And now she's just like, oh yeah, I just made partner at Bubblegum Club. It's really amazing to see the young people who sat in the interview with you and they could like barely articulate themselves and they weren't too sure of themselves, you know, and to see them like 5 years later, them calling us to now say, hey, I'm at this agency, I'm now at like in a position to hire other young people, and I want to find young people like me who are going through the Digify program, you know. So for me, it gets really tough at times to be like running a company, you know, and there's times where you're just like, oh, do I really want to do this? And then on Facebook, you know, Facebook memory pops up. I just seen 2 days ago of our Cape Town cohort, one of our earlier cohorts of Digify Pro, and just to see those young people there and to see where they are now, for us, it's just like that constant reminder to keep going, you know, that constant like just filling you with that inspiration to keep moving, you know. So it is like the likes of Rolf who really keep us going, you know, because you know that what you're doing actually means something and it makes a difference, you know, for us to be able to see. I mean, we started off with a tagline about like the next generation of digital talent, and legit, when you look at, you know, where our early graduates are now, they really are the next generation in the industry, next generation and agencies really changing things up, you know. So it just, yeah, it's confirmation to keep doing what we're doing, as difficult as it might be at times.
I get such a good vibe from the both of you, from all three of you, just the energy that you get from these kids that you work with. And that's something that you really, it's hard to describe. But when you talk about them, Sis Q, it's like, you know, kicking
I love
it.
them, man.
Yeah,
I
it's
love
legit.
them. Like,
You're
and they're
kicking
just,
it.
and I think they're also, and the nature of digital is that, like, so we might have taught you like 1, 2, and 3, but what you're doing is actually now like 10, 11, 12. Like, you're doing stuff that we never ever thought of. So, like, even the work that you're doing now at TikTok wasn't even part of like LiveMag, you know. So, and
Hold on.
yeah, your job didn't
hold
exist
on.
actually. Yeah, and that's the nice thing is that, I mean, there's stuff that you guys are going to be part of like in 5 years' time, that what we're doing right now is the roots of it. But we keep looking at our own alumni to see what's next, you know, to be seeing what is TikTok doing now and how do we build the next generation that's now going to work for everywhere, you know?
No, I was just agreeing with Q's point. So initially, like when I got there, like I said, I was a journalist. When I was studying journalism, like social media manager wasn't really a thing. And it became sort of a thing while I was at Digify. What I'm doing at TikTok now, that job didn't exist like 2 or 3 years ago. You know what I mean? So I think that's the advantage of digital. Like, who knows what's going to be possible in the next 4 or 5 years. So yeah, I think, like she said, like you learn a couple of things and then you just run with it towards the end.
You're sitting there like the proud spiritual father, you know, in basking in his glory. Okay, moving on. So, for the past 5 years, Facebook has supported Digify Africa in delivering impact driven digital skills training. Let's take a look. Gavin, feedback. What do you think? Tell
Well-
us about what your thoughts about that.
So that was Sherry Zinariva, who is the head of public policy programs for Europe, the Middle East, and Africa for Facebook. Sorry, it's a long job title, but just wanted to put her in context. So she's our kind of main lead partner at Facebook. And we've become Facebook's biggest partner in terms of their economic impact work in Africa. For the public policy programs. So we're really proud of that. I mean, it gives us a lot of scope to make the impact we want to make. You know, it's great working with a brand like that because they take risks, and you can take risks with them. So, you know, it's not like the usual funding arrangements. We can call them up and say, hey, we've had this idea, what do you think? And, you know, a few weeks later, you might be working on it, you know. So we started off kind of really doing our bread and butter programs with them. So Digify Pro is supported by them, and Elizwe Lam and Boost. But now we've kind of moved into innovation space. So we've been building WhatsApp learning chatbots with them, which is our kind of latest innovation that we're very excited about.
I can't keep up with these guys. I can't keep up. I think that's the point. So, Qhakaza, tell us about Digify Pro and tell us about Boost Facebook for Entrepreneurs.
Yeah, so we run a couple of programs. One that is nearest to my heart.
I'm so happy.
Look, I can talk about Digify all day, you know. But Digify Pro is really about taking young people, particularly those who wouldn't be able to afford university. You know, I think we, in the context of Fees Must Fall, we understand that that's not an opportunity that's afforded to everyone. When we look at advertising schools, even worse, you know. And we really, I mean, we talk about high potential young people who really just need that opportunity. Take them through an intensive boot camp. Literally anyone who survives Digify Pro, you need just a certificate just for that, because it really is intensive. It's really about how do we give you a feel of what agency life is going to be about. And anyone who works in an agency knows that it's, yeah, quite a thing. Live briefs, we have people from the industry coming to speak to you as well. You're working on different live briefs each week. There's a new topic each week, but we take you through the A to Z of digital marketing. And after that, we then place you in agencies, you know, and that's the program that Gavin was speaking about, where we have had, close to 100% to this day of placement rate, you know, and the program runs in Kenya, Nigeria, and South Africa. And Nigeria was wild because, I mean, remember for the first cohort that we ran, we had over 800 applicants for a program that can only take 20, you know, and the demand for it has, the demand for it has really been a lot. And I think the industry, what we get from those who hire our graduates, it's always that, like, our graduates are ready to hit the ground running, because I think for us, when we design our programs, it's really about giving you the skills that you can use today. So, like, whether you've come through just a 1-hour program or you've come through the 6-week boot camp, whatever you walk out with, it's something you can use today to either kickstart your career within digital marketing, or what we started finding a lot of our graduates were actually doing was setting up their own mini agencies, or just freelancing, you know. And that's really been, when we go into any program design, it's about when you leave here, have something that you can do to earn money today, you know, and not so theory-based, but really hands-on, you know. So that's Digify Pro, and that's a really amazing program that, just keeps churning out the most amazing talent. We also have Boost with Facebook, which is really looking at entrepreneurs. So we've got Facebook, WhatsApp, and Instagram, which are largely social tools, but you would not believe how powerful they are as business tools, you know. And again, hands-on lessons that are really just about, let us teach you how to run your Facebook advertising. Let us teach you how to grow your audience on Facebook. Understand what all of these stats actually mean for you and for the content that you're producing. a lot of businesses had to shut down their shops, and we teach you this is how you can open a shop on Facebook. This is e-commerce, the basics of e-commerce, and sort of just demystifying a lot of that for businesses, and to how they can use it for their business today, and we've really been able to see quite a lot of entrepreneurs come through that program and really just better understand this phone that we carry, just how important that is for your growth as a business. We also have, Elise Alarm, which is about internet safety that we are rolling out nationally in schools. And the amazing thing with that one that we've been able to do is we are using teachers who are currently in the classroom as our trainers. So we train them up. And the nice thing about that is that even when we leave the school, that teacher is still there and that knowledge is still there with them. So they're able to continue teaching the next grade that they get exposed to, even if we aren't there. So, it just really speaks to sustainability, But for us, it's just been about the programs that young people need today to help equip them to make a living today, but also to keep them safe as they do that is really how we approach any of the programs that we design. So, the nice thing about as well, look, COVID has caused quite a lot of challenges for us. But the one thing that it allowed us to do was to move all of our programs to online. So whereas before we were really limited by you had to be in Joburg or in Cape Town to attend LiveMag or to attend Digify, now, we were able to do our first Pan-African cohort. So we had in the same classroom students from Nigeria, Kenya, and South Africa. 1 week you would be working on a brief from an agency in Nigeria. The next week you're working on an agency in Kenya. So able to do that. But then that also means that for something like Boost, it is open to literally anyone. And I know that we have a lot of focus on young people, but when it comes to digital, we know that it's not just young people who don't have that understanding, So our programs are completely open to anyone to join. So yes, I look forward to seeing your name on the registration there. And yeah, I think you'll find the content really worthwhile.
Yeah, no, I think I'm just sometimes you forget how time moves by so quickly. So this, in 2014, I remember, I'm not sure if I'm allowed to say who the first sponsor of Digify was, but I remember when Gavin was pitching this and he was telling us okay, cool, we're going to start this. I think it was meant to I can. Yeah, it was Google. So it was Google, and I think it was a year contract. It was running parallel to Live Magazine. So in our heads, this was supposed to run for a year. You know what I mean? And, I left Digify, Liberty in 2016. And it's always amazing to see the scale, just how much it's grown. Because initially this was a thing where you had to be in the Johannesburg office with 20 people, and then I saw it grow to Johannesburg and Cape Town, and that's the last time I had a look at it. It was just sort of a cohort of 40, 20 from Johannesburg, 20 from Cape Town. And then I look this year and it's okay, cool, but we have this going on, we're building WhatsApp bots, and I think that also speaks to the demands of what, the skills shortage that, they're addressing. Some of this stuff is really easy to learn. You know what I mean? You could learn how to, write up a content strategy, maybe in an hour. It's just I think just sometimes it's accessibility. If you can't connect to the internet and someone's delivering it on WhatsApp, then all the better. So yeah, I think I'm just always surprised at just how much it's grown, is the point I was making.
And then since you're on such a roll, my brother, just opportunities of challenges that you find that young people are facing. Obviously, data access, internet capabilities, accessibilities, all of that. Highlight some of those things that you have gone through as a young Black African and ways that we can overcome it, as individuals and as Digify, and what you have done to overcome those challenges and barriers to entry.
Cool. So I think the biggest one will always be accessibility. So essentially if, like I said, the Digify program, for example, it's available online. It's a course you can do at Google, at your own pace. But if you don't have, Wi-Fi, if you can't connect, or if you don't have anyone who could hold your hand through the process, it's going to take forever or you're going to fail it. So I think that's the biggest thing, accessibility and having sort of an industry expert or, people who could tailor the content for you. I think Qhakaza mentioned earlier on that, they've been doing WhatsApp bots. So there's one Digify's been working on called Lisedi like I've been doing some copy for that. That's pretty cool because it's like sort of the Digify experience on a WhatsApp bot, you know what I mean? Like as in, it talks about online safety, it talks about how to navigate the internet. And so like, even if you don't have like 20 gigs of data to sit through like intensive, you know, YouTube videos and stuff like that, you could literally add the bot onto your phone. And then, you know, it's literally, you know, the images, there's text, there's voice notes, and I think that's a bit easier. Like if you don't have like the scope of bandwidth it would take to sit through like maybe like a YouTube video. So just like things like that, you know what I mean? Because I think the info's there, but I think people need it tailored to themselves. And some of this is like really, really, it goes into minute detail. I think it's things we take for granted because, you know, like for example, I grew up on the internet. You might take it for granted that someone might not know what a URL is. Someone might not know how to set up an email. So like the WhatsApp bots themselves, they go into like really, really granular detail. It's like, yeah, like Digify, but for someone who, you know, maybe had never encountered the internet before. And I think that's amazing because, yeah, like I said, like, you know, growing up as sort of like a semi-privileged, middle class, you know, young black South African, I think you take it for granted that not everyone has the kind of access you have. So yeah, I think like things like WhatsApp bots, but specifically tailoring information, you know, and putting it on platforms where people are likely to see them. I think that's the next thing.
Gavin, that's a beautiful answer, thanks. Gavin, so, you know, Qhakaza touched on unemployment and poverty. So how are we trying to, as Digify Pro and Boost Facebook, really trying to solve these kind of problems?
So we have chosen the lane of thinking about how the digital economy can move the needle for these problems. And that's because, you know, we see it as a net creator of jobs and also like what we could call work opportunities, which could be anything from a 9-to-5 job through to a bit of freelance work or starting a business or doing all of the above. So there's so many spectrums of ways to earn a living through having digital skills. So that's the opportunity, you know, and that's the opportunity to do things that could help people, whether they live in a city or a rural area or everything in between. So I think that's one of the big learnings we've come up with over the last 10 years, because in one way we're always seeing the glass half empty. Yes. Because it's great to sit in a room like this and say, oh, look at all the people we've worked with and the impact we've had. But actually, you know, I think in our roles, we often think, well, it's just not, that's not enough, you know, and it will never be enough because you always look out there and see, well, all the people who don't have access to this. So we're trying to constantly scratch that itch. And I think that is what's led us to looking at platforms like WhatsApp, because it's almost the complete opposite of putting 20 people in a room in Johannesburg and training them, which is easy in a sense, you know, and we know it works. But now, how do we get these skills out to, you know, people who are sitting out there with very little access to, you know, a computer or the internet? And that's the platform we felt had the best chance of making those connections. It's not going to solve that problem, but if we can start to, you know, introduce these skills at a grassroots level, starting with digital literacy, which is what we're doing with our new Lesedi bot, which is launching soon, and a digital literacy program we're going to be doing over the next year, which we'll be able to announce soon, a national digital literacy campaign to try and help thousands of people get onto the internet, use it to the benefit of their lives, their education, you know, be able to bank and access government services. Like Rolf said, we take it for granted, sitting in our privileged bubbles, that everyone's doing that already, but they're not, you know. So we're trying to worry about those things and come up with creative, scalable solutions to try and address them. And it's really hard, and a lot of the time we fall short of the mark, but we just have to keep pushing.
Keep pushing. Keep pushing. Okay, let's find out a little bit more about Naledi WhatsApp learning platform. Thank you.
and all with minimal data usage. The lady embodies the spirit of young African entrepreneurship with flair and responsiveness unlike any other, complete with her own personal stickers, voice notes, and animated recaps. With her, learners can easily navigate across learning modules using the latest WhatsApp UX features such as buttons, keyword recognition, and push notifications. For further engagement, a gamified layer allows learners to earn and collect badges, track their progress, and compare the results against others on the leaderboard. Learners are also encouraged to join the study group for further inspiration and motivation. Naledi has already begun to leave the mark. Partnering with UNISA, she's helping to develop valuable insights into the future of edutech. Learners spent over 1 week on average connecting with her. Hundreds of learners to date have completed over 1,400 topics of content and have sent over 100,000 messages throughout their experience. And this is just the beginning. As Naledi continues to reimagine education, empowering new generation of entrepreneurs, giving them the chance to connect, create, and collaborate. From Africa to the world, one emoji at a time. Naledi says hello.
Wow, incredible. Wow. Wow. Ruff, you're the young person in the room.
You want me to talk about the WhatsApp? So yeah, I mean, I didn't necessarily work on Naledi. I mean, I've interacted with Naledi. Like I said, I'm working on Lisedi. But yeah, Q, do you wanna?
Sure. So we actually are working on 3 bots that we have. So one is Naledi, who is, we've just met Naledi here, and that is based off of the boost with Facebook. So it's really about entrepreneurs and how to really help the entrepreneurs understand social media for business. Then we have Lisedi, which is all about digital literacy. So it's quite the introductory program or bot that we have. And then we have Qhakaza that looks at internet safety training, and that's looked at equipping teachers just to sort of better deal with the issues that they deal with in the classroom and to support their students. And what I really love about our bots is that they're like personalities, you know, so each of them have got names, little emojis. Actually, that Naledi was sort of built or based on one of the young people that we had working with us, you know, and just what the team has done to really just make it like you're talking to your friend, you know. Also, when we talk about representation, to know that these are all like black little characters, you know, which is really important in the tech space for us to be able to see ourselves. You know, Qhakaza is a black lady with a head wrap and all, you know, and I think, there we go, right? And I think that, yeah, it just, it makes, maybe that's our next bot name, Hlubi, you know? It just makes the learning easier. It makes it less daunting. It makes it less like learning, you know? And I loved how you said, oh, I just do some copy for the bot. The team does so much more. I think when you look at, you take learning content, and there's so much work that goes into how do I write copy that turns this content that would have been delivered as a lecture, but now it's delivered on WhatsApp, you know? So even the way young people talk, even how do I minimize that content? It's a lot of work. It's not just writing copy. Like it's a lot that you guys are doing, and that's really, really fantastic to actually see it translate and how the copy that you write actually works and is effective in teaching the different lessons that we have, you know?
So, poor choice of words. Yeah.
Writer?
Yeah. No, but I mean, what I mean by that is, so I think we started working on the pod like a month back, and this was the first time. So I've done quite like, you know, different kinds of writing, but this was the first time like I had to write for WhatsApp. And I think with the pod itself, what the writing forced you to do is actually understand what you were writing before you wrote it. You know what I mean? Because you're taking essentially like maybe 16 pages of learning material, and you have to make it like into, I don't know, like 3 to 5 minutes of like, you know, digestible copy. I've been a journalist before, I've written columns. Plenty of journalists still and do write about things they don't know about. Like it just happens sometimes. They're like, I can get away with this. I could not get away with that. Yeah, so essentially... No, I'm talking about columnists. I'm talking about columnists. But yeah, I mean, just generally speaking, like I think this was really cool, and it might sound a bit platitudinous, but yeah, it was Yeah, it was really amazing to work on something that had, a bit of meaning, you know what I mean? Something that isn't advertising per se, you know what I mean? Not copywriting to sell a product or, telling people to log on to Facebook to look at so-and-so, but it's actually something, you're writing and, for me, it was a bit of a challenge because it was like you're writing a few things that you know instinctively, like how do you log on to the internet? But when you sit down to write it for a part, it's like, okay, cool, but how do you log on to the internet? You go to Google Chrome. But what's Google Chrome? It's a web browser. What's a web browser? It's something that, houses, but that's the level of detail, you had to go into. So yeah, I think that was pretty cool. Like I can't wait for the pod to launch. I don't think I'm allowed to say when. But yeah, I think just going from that process is in like having, the team explain what it is they were going to do and seeing that play out in real time. I think that was an amazing process.
As we wrap this up, for IR, as innovators, as pioneers, as future generators, where are we at? Where do you want to be, Gavin?
Well, we're always trying to look at where the skills are going. That will inform the kind of the content of our programs. I think that it's quite hard to track how future skills are developing because they haven't happened yet. Yeah. But we can follow along closely. And we're always trying to design for the near future. So we're not looking at like 5 years. There's going to need to be kind of people understanding robotics. That's a need, yes, but we're trying to focus on what are the skills that are emerging now and for the next 6 and 12 months so that young people can get a job now, because it's an urgent challenge. So that's why we talk about skills of the near future. So that's always happening in our world, and that means that things pivot. We pivot our programs and change with those trends. But I think coming back to the WhatsApp bot, I feel like that's going to be a big part of our future because, e-learning has always been available in the Western and the Northern Hemisphere because so many people have good internet access and computers. And I don't think a lot of young people on this continent have had the same access. They haven't had the privilege to that kind of learning. So that's why we're so excited about WhatsApp, and we talk about it a lot. Well, WhatsApp and chatbots generally. In 5 years, who knows if WhatsApp will still be the main platform. But at the moment, it's the thing that most people have in their hands already. So we're removing the barriers to entry. We're going for the easiest access possible. We're quite early on in the journey of doing this, though. So I wouldn't say we've completely cracked it. But if we can continue to work out how you make learning on WhatsApp a valuable learning experience, imagine the impact that could have. Not just for us, but for the Department of Education, for mainstream education as a delivery method. If we can make that work, you could really be talking about a sort of scalable solution for e-learning that works on this continent and maybe across the developing world. So that's why we're pushing it so hard at the moment.
Unbelievable. This is Qhakaza.
Yeah, I think so. Necessity sort of like breeds sort of like innovation. I think that's how the saying goes. Some like that. But I think why we see so much innovation coming from the continent is that we're coming from a place of need, and we are responding to our challenges, So mobile banking, why that was started here on the continent is because that's the need that we have, and that for me excites me so much about the challenges that we have, because there's so much more that we're going to see from the continent when it comes to digital. It's also interesting to see how it's almost like it levels out the playing ground. I think we have been so left behind as a continent, but now when you look at digital, when you look at tech, hey man, we are a front runner there, which excites me. But I think, looking at sort of like the reality on the ground, when we are in the schools doing the programs, we actually always realize that let's take the Department of Education, like you said, no one really prepared our teachers, particularly our rural teachers in rural and township schools, for this homeschooling thing, for this digital, which is why when we saw sort of like the lockdown, there was this big fight about like, if your kid is in private school, their education can continue, but if they're not, then not, you know? And I think for us, it's really great to talk about 4IR and to move to coding and all of that stuff, but the very basics haven't quite been in place, you know? And I think that excites me about this program that we're going to do now about digital literacy, because one of the modules are looking at digital tools for the classroom and really going into our township schools and our rural schools, you know, to say, fine, there's still an infrastructure challenge that we have, right? But there's a lot of these corporates who do, rolling out all of this infrastructure. But now we've got internet and we don't quite know what to do with it, you know? So I think it's really just about, I guess, what Gavin was talking about, like the near future, the stuff that we need like right now, you know? So, it's sort of like, let's look forward, definitely, but then let's make sure that we are equipping people now for us to be able to make that leap that we need to in the future. And I think that that's really the site of the work that we do.
I think on my end, I think it's just like what Gavin said, just trying to keep up. Like in 2014, the company I worked for didn't exist, like in its current inception. It's now the biggest social media platform, well, the second biggest sort of social media platform, like most downloaded app in last year. The job I worked didn't exist 2 years ago, but still, even in spite of that, like I'm only 29, but I look at what things like people like who are 20, 21 are doing, and you know, they're already on par with some of the stuff I do. So I think that's encouraging, and it's scary as well, because you have people who are 2021 opening like entire sort of like online stores, websites, stuff like that, and that's something maybe we caught on to when we're 24, 25. So the idea is that, you know, things are always evolving. Like what's true this year won't necessarily be true about digital, even in a few months' time. So I think that's the biggest thing, like trying to stay abreast of everything. But yeah, I think it's just scary and it's encouraging, like how quickly things are changing. But yeah, I guess it's just like trying to keep on par with everything that's happening.
Questions, anybody? Thanks, Ralph. Thanks. Questions? Anyone? Yes, questions, comments.
how do I create a presentation? How do I open an email? How do I do this? So that's just an idea that I think there's a huge market there. But we'll talk further to see how the partnership can come forward here.
What's your name? Irene, thank you. That was beautiful. Do you want to comment, Sis Qhakaza, Gavin? Any comments?
My only comment is expect my email. We'll be chatting soon. But yeah, I think, look, working with the GCIS really is really amazing, and I'm glad that we've been able to start that, because there's quite a lot of work that needs to happen, you know. And I think with this digital literacy program, it is really about that, going into the schools and really starting from the basics that we can build from that, you know. Us being able to partner with as many government departments as possible as well really helps us in doing that. And yeah, I think a lot of the work that we do is only possible through partnerships, you know. So I'm quite serious. I will be emailing you to have a conversation about that. Thank you.
For our programs, I think you check out our socials or our website, so digifyafrica.com, our Facebook, Digify Africa on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, our programs. That's the best place to keep track of what's out there, how you can join, register. There's stuff happening all the time.
Any more comments? Any more questions? Thank you so much, Gavin Weale, Digify Africa CEO, Sis Qhakaza Mohare, Digify Africa COO, and Rofhiwa Maneta, LiveMag Alumni. Thank you, everyone, for joining us today. Happy 10th anniversary, 10th birthday, Digify Africa. Many, many more to come. Keep pushing, keep growing, and congratulations once again. That's from me, Mboya Arnold, everybody. Bye.